back to the YouTube channel, guys. This is QUATTRO Media, and well, today we have special episodes. Well, 2 or 3 maybe, I don't know. I will just see how it would go. And this is, oh shit, wait, I forgot the intro.
Hannu Mikkola and Arne Hertz get the champagne.
Swedish rally legend, Mr. Stig Blomqvist.
1981, Michelle Mouton clinched the first of her
points is what they've all been doing, but to win now.
Okay. Now you are seeing the intro. I know me talking about QUATTRO is not going to make it very epic as the music, but I'll try my best to keep you interested. So I'll try my best to put videos and all the stuff. So before going into Audi QUATTRO, we have to go through a history of Audi. Audi's history begins with a man called August Porsche.
Mein ganzes Leben habe ich fast dem Auto gewidmet. Ich kann zum Schluss sagen, ich baute Autos.
Audi means Porsche in Latin, which is changed to the name. Porsche first came to automobile back in 1899 with a company called Porsche and Co. And a car that went up to 32 kilometers per hour. But because of some problems in his company, he had to leave in 1909. And then in 1910, he made Audi. So during the war, First World War, Porsche was forced to make cars for the war. And it was just a bit too much for him, so he left in 1920. The company kept on going until 1930, but in 1931 they understood an agreement or a union between some other struggling companies would be better to move on as company. And Audi/Otto Union was found. The companies were DKW, Hodge, Wanderer, and of course Audi. The reason Audi badge has 4 rings is that each represents each company. Otto Union had quite a successful era before the Second World War. And in the Second World War, they were forced to make vehicles again for the war. But this time, they had to make a pathetic 75 horsepower 3-cylinder 2-stroke engine for the Volkswagen Iltis. But there was a cool thing about this SUV.
4x4.
It was faster than Audi's much more powerful front-wheel drive cars around the rough terrain. Georg Wenziger, the engineer, the mastermind, the father of QUATTRO, got an idea in the middle of freezing finish. What if they put this into their passenger cars? You see where I'm going with it? After convincing their director of technical development, Ferdinand Pierre, in 1970s they got into work. Took some stuff from the Audi 100 like the suspension and the transmission, and some other stuff from the Audi 80 like the floor pan and some running gear components, and a lot of stuff from the Volkswagen Mark I Golf.
This car, Volkswagen Golf.
And the 5-cylinder turbo engine from the Audi 80 Coupe that was not yet released at that time. And a machine that screamed the 80s, that eat mud for breakfast, that can drop your children off at your 80s schools and rally your way home was born. A 2.1 liter 5-cylinder turbo engine and a car that had flares everywhere, had independent suspension, was sleek looking, and people were so intrigued to see its performance because this 10-valve engine was making just below 200 horsepower. that can do 0 to 60 in 7.1 seconds. Remind you, the supercars at that time was the Testarossa, F40, Countach, 959 or the early 90s NSX. They were doing 3 to 6, 0 to 60s. The difference was the QUATTRO or the QUATTRO, standing for original, can do the 0 to 60 in 7.1 seconds on any terrain. And each and every QUATTRO was hand-built by a team of 20 people at Audi's. So it was obvious to put this car into rallying, so they did. In 1979, FISA allowed all-wheel drive to be into races. And in 1980, they put this car into rallying under the name Audi Sport. Of course, like all great stories, this car do have its own ups and downs. It wasn't great at start. Yes, it was great when it got into rallying in 1980 and when it ran in a non-competitive way because they hadn't sold the adequate number of cars that were actually needed to compete. And in the Algarve rally, Hannu would have won by almost in half an hour and scared the absolute shit out of the people that were actually competing. But it was almost like the car was getting out-engineered by the other cars at 1984, like it was. And since no center differential was allowed at that time, the car was very, very nose heavy because the engine was in front of the front axle. It was getting a lot of understeer, but nothing is great without some struggle. And not to forget, this car was an innovative car. It had a hollow drive shaft that went to the rear, and in the middle of the drive shaft there was another drive shaft that went to the front that drove the front axle.
200 pounds heavier than anything else, it was backed by rallying's first proper war machine, provoking all the jokes about Panzers and Blitzkrieg. And it was by no means a perfect rally car. Nose heavy with serious understeer and a significant turbo lag. It also had a solid driveline with no centre diff. It was a pig to drive.
Okay, it wasn't bad as critics said at the time. The complexity was a fair ratio of the stuff to make the car fast. And in 1981, when this car was actually competing, was put into 8 races and won 3 of them. Hannu Mikkola and Michel Mouton was racing in the 2 cars that put into race. And Michel Mouton was the first woman to win a WR series. And that too happened in an Audi QUATTRO. Nice. Anywho, Stig Blomqvist joined in 1982 and Michel was leading the team. They got up to 4th except first Drivers' Championship and the first time Audi won a Manufacturers' Championship in this era. In 1984 too, they won 2 championships, and in Group B, things weren't worse either, since there were no rules that whatsoever for the cars that were competing other than the displacement of their engine that was 2 liter, 2.5 liter, 3 liter and 4 liter, and the tire width according to the engine displacement. This was the FIA's or the FISA's idea of controlling the power at that time. But engineers found how to force air into the engine making more power, turbos.
You have a turbo on your car now.
That's how a 2.1 liter Audi that came under the 3 liter category had 550 to 600 horsepower. Just before going into Group B, I had to give a quick knowledge on how rally happened at that time. Basic knowledge. I will go with the basics. So it was Group 1, 2 and 3, and later it was Group N, A and B. So how it worked was Group N was production cars, Group A was production modified cars, and Group B was sports modified cars. And Group B had a minimum number of 200 production cars. There had to be 200 production cars, and that is a crucial factor because that's why the Audi made the Audi Sport QUATTRO. It had Kevlar body panels, flashier looks, and shorter wheelbase. This is why the A1 or the Evolution 2 had a shorter wheelbase. This was because though they were fast with the all-wheel drive system, the Peugeot 205 T16, it was an all-wheel drive, mid-engine, smaller, agile car, was given proper competition to the all-wheel drive QUATTRO. Sadly, the competition ended with the T16 crashing out. Anyway, this short wheelbase version was a monster. It had rear wheels and front splitters and various aerodynamic components. This was new. This was new to rally. And they had a lot of downforce and a center differential helped to balance out the car. And they put a radiator, all the stuff in the back because the engine was still in front of the front axle. And the engine had dual overhead camshafts. Now only 1090 kilos. This car could do 0 to 60 in 3.1 seconds. As much as cars were this fast, they were dangerous, which is why Group B had to be banned. In 1986 Portuguese rally, Joaquim Santos, oh my god, I'm so sorry, these names are very new to me. So Joaquim Santos, Ford RS200 crashed out, killing 3 people and injuring 31 spectators. And later in the Decos, Henry Poli crashed out in his Lancia Delta S4 and caught on fire. This guy was a fan favorite, trust me. This guy was so fast. Man had no competition whatsoever. Rest in peace. And the crashes wasn't over. Attila Bettega crashed and died in his 037 later. And Mark Schwerers died in RS200, who was a Formula 1 driver. His co-driver Michel Weiger died in the crash. This led to a FIA ban in Group B immediately. And Group A cars were actually catching up to Group B car speeds anyways. But this fan favorite sport was an example of how much engineering we had left in ourselves. And all the engineering that went up to S1, E2, Audi Quattro, well, you could say it's not the most benefiting thing, because as much as we love this car, it only won one race in 1995 San Remo rally. And Audi withdrew their cars in 1986 after the rally in Portugal. But Quattro wasn't dead yet. In 1987, Audi made the Quattro RS002. It was for Group S, but rules were changed in Group S when FIA banned Group B. And the Quattro still wasn't dead yet. Because in 1986, Pike Speed with a record time of 11.9.22 with Bobby Unser at wheels, destroying the lap record that was done previous year by the Michel Mouton. But oh boy, the best was yet to come. In 1987, Walter Roll did a blistering 10 minutes, 47 seconds, 22, fucking destroying the previous lap time. And oh boy, I meant when I said the best was yet to come. Because later, Audi makes a special Quattro, the Audi 200, for a close course speed record. They hit 200 miles per hour with Bobby Unser on the wheels. And they didn't just set one speed record. Oh boy. Now 1, 2, 3, no, 4, no, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then how fucking much? 10 fucking much. They broke 10 speed records. Anyway, they put this Audi Quattro, especially the Audi Quattro, into racing. And that is for another episode. Thank you all for watching. I'll be as quick as possible to put out the next episode. Hope you all having fun. Stay safe out there.